and welcome to the Texas Book of Beasts. Now, if no one told you before, this show involves a lot of audience participation. You'll notice the color stripes on the floor in front of you. You might have had clickers in your seat, and I see some of y'all already wearing the hats. That's right. These are here to help you enjoy the show, enjoy this immersive production. So in between scenes or as clapping, if you want to go ahead and hit those clickers, we'd love that. And if you prefer to just watch the show quietly, we love you regardless. Enjoy however you see fit, all right? Perfect. Now, you'll notice that big old screen on my left. Occasionally, you might see some instructions projected up there, like this. Applause. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Y'all caught on really quick. Now, you might see some other instructions projected up there as well, like this. Yeah! Perfect. Now, when you see the screaming man and words in quotation marks, this is something we all want to say together, all right? So you want to pay close attention to the cast on the stage. One of us, or all of us, will gesture at the screen. Let's actually try that one time real quick if y'all don't mind. Yeah! Perfect. Thank you very much. For this next part, we're going to do a song, but I think I might actually need some help. Hey, excuse me, can I get some help, please? Oh, thank you very much. Yep, we are. We're good. If you don't mind, give me a hand. Yes, ma'am. All right. Now, we're going to get on with a song called I Love My Rooster. Have any of y'all heard that song before? No? Don't even worry about it because we're going to have the words projected on screen. Woo! Right there. Now, I'm going to need some suggestions for Texas critters. Y'all know some Texas critters? Just go ahead and shout them out at me. Any critters? Frog. Frog, armadillo. Yep, them's Texas critters. Perfect. Coyote too. Chupacabra, the myth, the legend. All right. Now, we're going to go on with the song. Just follow along with us. So without further ado, I love my rooster. I love my rooster loves me. I love my rooster by the cottonwood tree. My little rooster goes cock-a-doodle-doo. Doodle-dee-doodle-dee-doodle-dee-doo. Now, what was that chupacabra you said? Somebody up in that corner, I can't see, it's dark. Chupacabra, right? Chupacabra. How's a chupacabra go? Alright, that's how it goes. I love my chupacabra loves me. I love my chupacabra by the cottonwood tree. My chupacabra goes, my little rooster goes cock-a-doodle-doo. Can I get one more Texas beast from over here anywhere? Screaming out at me.
Salamander.
Salamander? How's a salamander go? I love my salamander loves me. I love my salamander by the cottonwood tree. Whoa, my little salamander goes. My little chupacabra goes. My little rooster goes cock-a-doodle-doo. All right, guys, give yourselves a hand. Thank you very much. Just say your seats. Be ready. Keep those clickers in your hand and enjoy the show. Woo! Yeehaw! From page 1 of the Texas Book of Beasts, prologue, flashback 3 years and 2 months.
Anything new on campus?
No new species.
A male similar to tanager has appeared, all in the database.
Nice. Has your other male of interest appeared?
Yes. Walking east-west across the mall to period 2, as usual.
Oh, which t-shirt?
It's Wednesday.
Oh, Paddington Bear.
Yep.
This is so dumb. Just lie in wait and find an excuse to bump into him.
I can't do that. I freak out. I have to think of some organic intro. You know, this is a lot easier for birds.
Take a class with him next semester. I can find out what he signs up for. I work at the registrar. I'll find him by photo.
But then I'd have to come up with some way to be noticed, not my strong point.
Well, what gets the attention of a pear-shaped nerd you have never met who wears Paddington Bear t-shirts? Come on.
This is a simple fable with 4 principles. A property developer, a university professor, a young biologist, and a toad. This is the property developer about to break ground on a new residential neighborhood.
Lost Limestone Acres.
A progressive, eco-friendly, almost affordable family development.
It's all a question of risk. It's all computing the odds. It's defining the edges and guessing the outcomes without provoking the gods. It's all a question of bounds. It's all selecting the courts. It's refining the ranges and testing the choices while keeping your means of support. It's a flying trapeze for investors and me. I arc back and forth while they hang by their knees. If my timing is right, my swing and release.
We all want rousing rates of return. We all are espousing great rates of return.
Let's quintuple what T-bills allows us to earn.
When we sell that new housing,
We'll have money to burn.
when we bring in that rousing rate of return.
Let's meet a university professor fundraising for a new museum wing. A reading from page 4 of the Texas Book of Beasts, the diorama.
I am Professor Scam Likely, permanent assistant head of the zoology department, transfer from a prestigious East Coast private university. I was brought here to fulfill my lifelong dream, establishing the
Professor Likely Hall of Amphibians.
in the Museum of Natural History. Displays depict the Arctic, the mountains of Nepal, the forests of New England, and the jungles of Bengal, where the flora and the fauna are arranged en natural, in instructive groups and poses over captions quickly read. And it's called a diorama.
Because everything is dead.
You know, a diorama is even better than the zoo, for the setting is as true as good research can construe. And though the eyes are made of glass and the feathers held by glue, it's all preserved forever in a sterile, safe milieu, where the creatures are approachable, close enough to touch. And though the fur may fade a bit, it never fades too much. So give museums their due. They're better than the zoo.
And they smell much better too. Professor Likely Hall of Amphibians
Will display the new amphibian embalming technique I have developed using hundreds of frogs over years of research. See how well preserved this salamander is. See how bright the colors are. You'd almost think it was plastic. You know, a diorama is even better than the wild. where it's hard to be beguiled when the creatures get all riled and run away and hide before they're properly compiled. Why, we never know their genus, get them classified and filed without detailed dissection, where we weigh and count and test, pickle all the innards and stuff and mount the rest for placement in displays named, as I've already said, nature. Die! Oh, Ramas.
Because everything is dead.
A reading from page 7 of the Texas Book of Beasts, Ode to Endangered Toads.
This tale is set in mid-2020.
The city had grown, was growing aplenty,
Banks backed any scheme lacking obvious faults.
while visions of sugar plums danced in their vaults.
But some of the locals resented the sprawl
And moved up the creek beds away from the mall.
Away from, in fact, the homes of us all.
They hopped!
Or they slithered,
or skittered.
Or ran.
A toad may have the gift of gab.
Hey, baby.
But otherwise is dull and drab,
Its shape is either fold or flap.
and its movements an unsteady start and stop, a clumsy lurch,
Curve up, curve up.
While your normal frog can hop from kitchen floor to countertop, your normal toad can only flop the clumsy lurch.
Curve up, curve up.
lift the palm, flex the haul, loud, start and stop,
Curve up, curve up.
So when your life is bounce and bump and slides and slips,
Curve up, curve up.
You think that you'd be stiff and sore before you found your paramour, but nature deals routinely with such fears and gave him the voice and her the ears.
Hey, baby.
but sometimes he can call, and no one seems to hear at all. And he thinks perhaps he's just too small to pierce the dank and heavy air, or even worse,
That no one's there.
and so he calls out, sounding gruff.
Hey, baby.
Then he tries sounding shrill.
Hey, baby.
Then he tries sounding tough.
Hey, baby.
Then he might insert a trill.
Hey, baby.
In the end, the lonely toad will even try an alpine yodel,
Yodeling, hey, hoo, baby.
saying in his sexy baritone,
Here I am, he toad, alone.
Well, the problem here is this guy is the last male of his species. What can we do to make him more attractive to the last female of the species? We know she's got to be around here somewhere. Oh yeah, let's add some ambient nature.
Okay.
Look at more homies. Some music. Oh, out of the way. It worked.
But lo, what light through yonder yucca breaks.
And here she comes from across the swamp, the clumsy lurch.
Curve up, curve up.
And he, excited, climbs a root and looks at her, remaining mute. There she is, Nobby Splotch the teen.
The prettiest toad I've ever seen.
and so they meet within the soggy sump and shyly have a cautious bump, and then move on. And when they finally flock 10 feet, they think it's time they stop to eat and sit beneath the shady weed where he knows mosquitoes breed. And she thinks,
My, he knows some nice places.
and so they become a pair without much pomp or loud fanfare. And when there's nothing left on which to snack, the toads continue on their track to the next bog or mossy stump, a clumsy lurch, flop, flop.
So, parents, are there any parents out there? A little advice, well, a brief reminder rather. Though toads look harmless on your lawn, to mosquitoes they're like Genghis Khan. So, unless you like mosquitoes, tell your child a fib of sorts. How catching toads can lead to hurts.
to smoke his pipe and read a book? The Garden! A reading from page 11 of the Texas Book of Beasts, The Gar, the Origin Story, Part 1.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
So, what is your idea? You've got 10 minutes to get me to buy into your idea for a 10-minute plan.
It's a story about a young woman trying to find a man.
Okay.
I am following to the letter your instructions in the syllabus.
I'm in love with the boy.
It starts with a sing-along.
I'm in love with the boy.
I'm in love with the boy.
On page 35.
On page 35.
Page 35.
On page 35 in my yearbook. But the wonderful boy on page 35 doesn't know I'm alive.
You know you have to direct and perform this in front of the class, right?
Yes, exactly. This will warm me up. I'll freeze solid and not get a line out without a warm-up. Plus, the song suits my purpose.
You've got 9 minutes left.
A shy, very restrained woman, Anne, is standing next to a tree on campus, inventorying birds through her field glasses and recording data on her phone. A close friend walks up and asks if anything of interest has flown in. Anne shyly explains that nothing of interest has flown in. Then she points at a man. The friend knows she's terrified of meeting men. Why him? He wears interesting t-shirts. She first noticed him when he blocked her view of a killdeer. He was wearing a Paddington Bear t-shirt. She's never met a guy who would wear a Paddington Bear t-shirt before and thinks he'd be someone she'd like. She records his data under species, nerd, gender, male, and then she records his t-shirts under plumage.
Get it? I get it. I get what you're going for, at least. You're a biologist, right?
Yes, and I am very good at conducting field surveys.
So you were playing Anne.
Yes. Anne goes on to list his other t-shirts. Dungeons and Dragons, Big Bend National Park, San Diego Zoo, Ravenclaw.
I can't imagine how you are working the required march into the play.
I have. I am following to the letter your instructions in the syllabus.
How?
He has a t-shirt reading March Madness.
You know that is totally contrived.
The March t-shirt, it suits my purpose. The syllabus says the march must be integral to the author's purpose.
Which is?
To pass your course?
Well, I am not sure with this idea you will pass.
We have introduced our developer, our professor, and our endangered toad. Next is our hero, a professional biologist. She discovered early on that she was different. A reading from page 20 of the Texas Book of Beasts, The Minnow. Thank you. Oh. A school of minnows moves close-knit, and when they're startled, they just flit. Dart and flit. Dart and flit. Move as one and never split.
Hey, you guys aren't going anywhere.
It just feels safer to submit to a life of dart and flit. Dart and flit. Move as one and never split.
You don't have to think a bit.
Okay, enough of this. Why don't we try this way? I'm going this way.
Now, some minnows would admit they get bored with dart and flit. Dart and flit. Move as one and never split, and they might get smart and quit.
Bye, y'all.
But such events are not the norm, for most minnows just conform.
Like all heroes, our hero went on a journey before she found her purpose. She started off as a person appalled by the state of the world. A reading from page 21 of the Texas Book of Beasts, the Daddy Longlegs.
The hats are the bodies, and our arms are going to be the legs of the daddy long legs.
En masse, the Daddy Longlegs looks like a cloud of snarled fishing hooks. Yeah. I'm going to teach you all how to move like a Daddy Longlegs. You will find this a very useful skill you can teach your friends in the long, boring bits of mass gatherings.
Like sporting events.
Or legislative sessions.
Okay, so first thing you do is you get your group together and each person wears a hat. I see some of y'all are wearing hats, so y'all can follow along. Each person will grab the sides of their hats and you're going to lift your hat full arm length overhead. Yes. The hat is still. The body is still. Perfectly vertical. This is the typical stance of a Daddy Longlegs. Okay, now rest your arms, everybody. But when it is disturbed and gets excited, it speeds up and goes crazy, like bouncing on a pogo stick across a corrugated metal roof. When prompted, in this case when the music plays, we are going to ping randomly around the room and pump our hats up and down. You guys can join from your seats, pumping your hats up and down. When the music stops, all come back and assume the typical stance. That's enough. You can use this excited mode when
Your team scores a touchdown!
Your team hits a home run!
Your team takes a goal! Glaciers are melting! Sea levels are rising! Come on, guys. Coasts are flooding! Can we get the music back on, please?
Somebody tries to raise taxes!
That's enough. Everybody hates taxes. En masse, the Daddy Longlegs looks like a cloud of snarled fishing hooks. Seemingly, they look handmade out of needle-nose pliers with bits of bubblegum and pieces of wires. Entomologists contrive to make us think that they're alive, but the creature moves so slow, it's more up and down than to and fro. So nature surely would correct such a preposterously designed insect.
A daddy longlegs is not an insect.
It's a spider!
So I figured out that by shouting by myself while standing on a soapbox and handing out flyers at big events and in front of the Capitol didn't accomplish much. I needed more support. I decided to take my message to the internet.
A reading from page 24 of the Texas Book of Beasts, a note on social media. The last thing in the world you want is a cricket for a confidant. For if you swear a cricket to keep mum, she just can't help but tell a chum. So, cricket A, tells cricket B, which still confides in C and D, and so on through the alphabet, until the whole backyard knows your secret.
And after 3 months of blogging, I had over 55 followers. And one time when I posted, I got a dozen likes. But of course, thank you. But of course, I knew I wasn't the only one on the internet.
And don't sit near ponds when you converse. For a group of frogs, it's even worse.
Ribbit, ribbit.
Ooh, we can test that. we'll do both at the same time. Okay. Yeah. So this half, you guys will click with your clickers. Yep. And then this half, you guys will ribbit like frogs. Got it. All right. Wait. Okay. Everybody ready? Ready. Everybody click and ribbit!
Nice job.
Well, perhaps it's just a toss-up whether frogs or crickets spread more gossip. But now, let's move on to a topic we can all agree on: Texas fighting insects. A reading from page 26 of the Texas Book of Beasts, Texas Subjunctive. If the mosquito, where's Benito? If the red bug
1001, 1002, 1003.
were a dead bug, if the fire ant were delighted,
We should be delighted.
In Lost Limestone Acres.
A progressive, eco-friendly, almost affordable family development.
The Homeowners Association will be funded to do weekly area fogging to kill the mosquito.
What?
The procedure will perform a benign compound, safe for humans, deadly to all bugs, even roaches. Completely natural. Derived from materials produced by the decomposition of ancient forests for over millions of years.
What?
100% organic.
What?
Chemistry.
That subdivision sign is total nonsense. There's nothing eco-friendly about Lost Limestone Acres, which pollutes more than modern standard practice, has wells that threaten springs, and, more importantly, is recent home to an extremely rare toad that was declared extinct in the 1950s. I saw it last week when I wandered onto the property.
What do you call a female gar from Brooklyn?
So I decided to augment my campaign to save the Earth with something perhaps achievable in the near term. I decided to save the endangered toad. But I needed to think through a process that got me where I wanted to go.
A reading from page 29 of the Texas Book of Beasts, Thinking Through the Problem.
I decided to keep my plan flexible. Emulate nature. A raccoon living near to man becomes an avid handy Dan who ponders, puzzles out, and plans attacks on local garbage cans. If the lid's not tightly on, tip the contents on the lawn. Rip the plastic bags apart and choose your supper a la carte. If the barrel is too stout, to tip the heavy contents out. Climb on in and jump about. Sometimes when this trick is tried, the barrel falls upon its side, and once again the table spread across porte-cochere and flower bed. If the barrel does not tip as you cavort beneath the lip, you can rip and slice and trim, scattering refuse round the rim.
Gross!
Well, one simply can't be prim when working where the light is dim. Development. I made an appointment for someone to explain to me the permit process.
A reading from page 30 of the Texas Book of Beasts, Researching the Problem.
I am the manager of site development permitting of the city, and as such, I judge the site development plans with the Land Development Code. Inexperienced developers look at this document and think no one could possibly understand all the requirements in here. They then submit their plans and wait a review, which they expect will miss a thing or two. Well, my motto is impartiality requires precision, and precision requires a checklist. One for each thing to be checked. These are the initial completeness check for the checklist. These protect the portal. These put everyone on notice that we don't miss anything. First, you check the filing fee, step the date, step the time. Then you have to log it in, attach and mark the right form. 1 copy complete, 2 copies complete, 3 copies complete, 4 copies complete, 5 copies complete, 6 copies complete, 7 copies complete.
I check the blanks on Form A and Form B and Form C. I check the blanks on Form D. All blanks are filled.
Then I log it back out. First one through, 1 for 1. We can do better next time. Are you ready to go full speed?
Ready!
Okay! First, you check the filing fee, step the date, step the time. Then you have to log it in, attach and mark the right form. First, you check the filing fee, step the date, step the time. Then you have to log it in, attach and mark the right form. First, you check the filing fee, step the date, step the time.
Check the blanks on Form B. All blanks are filled. Incomplete! When will they ever learn?
When will they ever learn? Then after mark, I regret you have failed.
To provide a properly annotated site map of Form D.
Please submit the missing documentation. Please submit a new filing fee. Then after log the thing out, return it. First, you check the filing fee. No filing fee.
No
filing fee.
No filing fee? Do they think we do this stuff for free?
3 completeness checks done already.
How do you influence the development permit process?
But the process is precise. If you follow the rules, you get the permit. Most of the experienced developers, they sell right through.
Always?
Well, generally. The rules make the playing field level. You have to be fair. But you know, sometimes development becomes, I don't know, radioactive or something, you know. Neighborhood associations get upset, environmental watchdogs get upset, powerful constituents get upset, then politicians intervene, things get complicated. What development are you tracking?
Lost Limestone Acres.
Ah, yes. That developer is very precise and thorough, knows her stuff, develops right to the limits of the regulations. I think you can assume she will follow the rules.
Sometimes the rules aren't tight enough.
She is having her first public meeting tonight.
What do you call an event where they grill gar? A garbage! Gar, 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 gar.
A reading from page 35 of the Texas Book of Beasts, the first public meeting.
And that is the end of my first required presentation at my first required public meeting. I assure you, I will comply with any stipulations added to my just submitted permit, and you will eventually learn to cope with the changes.
You have a reputation for doing the minimum required to protect the environment. Can you explain this stance?
In the good old days to develop land, we employed a technique called the fait accompli. We'd move it at night and chop down a tree, and before all the locals could get in cahoots, we'd rip out the stump and bury the roots. There was progress and prosperity in the glorious days of the fait accompli.
Fait accompli! Fait accompli! It's tough to prevent what you don't know will be.
We all need surprises to ward off ennui.
Here today, gone tomorrow.
Remember that landmark?
Fire trap.
Built in 1903 with an elaborate facade of odd filigree. One Sunday morning, you reduced it to screech.
But it took until Wednesday to haul the debris. The bankers, the builders, the planners, and me pulled it all off in complete harmony.
You mean secrecy?
Oh, there's no finer way to build civic esprit than to join us all in a fait accompli. And now we have the landscape ordinance.
The tree ordinance?
The antiquities ordinance.
The environmental ordinance.
Oh yeah, that ordinance. When going on vacation, don't leave your sprinkler on, or the sitting city council's apt to cordon off your lawn. For the mix of standing water, grass, and clumps of phytofeces forms an ideal ecologic niche for endangered wetland species.
Don't be disarmed by this guy.
What do you call a guard you see on the horizon that appears wavy and fades in and out?
I then took the lead from the permit staff and contacted and joined a series of organizations. Those educating on reducing urban pollution.
Build rain gardens.
Those opposing new wells.
Save the springs!
The local neighborhood associations.
No more traffic!
Deep pockets.
Save the wild
I told
places!
each group about the code and bit by bit coordinated opposing the development permit.
A reading from page 39 of the Texas Book of Beasts. Presentation to the Neighborhood Association.
My friends and I, we call ourselves the Four Droplets. What can you do to improve the quality of the water that we drink? Well, where do we get our drinking water from? The lake. Where does the water from our streets go?
The lake.
So let's talk about rain draining uncontrolled from our houses into the street and onto the lake. Here we are, 4 raindrops meeting in the cloud. I'm so excited. Here we go.
Woo! Getting closer. Almost time!
Ooh, I feel good. Maybe transpiration this time. We'll fall down on the ground and head up through the roots.
Oh yeah, I really like that capillary action.
The stomata are so mystical. You just... Whoa!
No soft misting this time.
Heavy, getting heavy. Yeah!
4 raindrops fall onto a tiled roof. Bumpity, bumpity, bumpity down the tiles. Whoosh along the rain gutters. Whoosh! Whoosh into a downspout. Falling, falling. Splash onto a splash pad. Tumbling into a driveway. Getting covered in grease and oil. Yeah! Sliding down the driveway into a street gutter. Getting buffeted by a major flow of more grease, yard waste, and dog poop. Momentary peace at a curb inlet. Then, whoosh, into the inlet, into a pipe, darkness and chaos. Tumbling out and sliding down the slope into a creek, complaining about the gross grease the whole way from the driveway, and finally into an eddy. Slow swirl, feeling all dirty and miserable. Finally looking up and seeing a rainbow.
Look up! A rainbow.
This is your first trip down a storm drain, isn't it? I can tell. That's not a rainbow, that's oil.
Oh man, just evaporate me getting out of here.
Uncontrolled urban runoff can turn the hydrologic cycle into hydrologic psycho. But a few controls that neighborhoods and homeowners can put in themselves can help a lot. Let me show you. If I can get my friends here to try this again. Y'all, please check it out.
The signs aren't auspicious.
I summon the laws of nature.
No fear invoking a higher power.
It will be better this time. Trust me. Here we go. Getting heavy. Getting heavy. Yeah! 4 raindrops fall onto a tiled roof. Bumpity, bumpity. have dropped into a rain barrel. You will be used to water the flower bed. You have come off the rain gutter downspout into a rain garden. A shallow depression planted with herbs. We overflow into the driveway.
Oh, why me, man? You promised.
Wait and see what comes next. But first, the mess of grease, yard waste, and dog poop flowing into the street.
Oh, not again. Oh, be clean.
This is a bioswell.
Bioswell.
A bit of depressed area with native plantings that the developer sets aside at road intersections to cut off flow before the curb inlet. You are being filtered through the soil and will come up through the roof.
Oh, yeah!
So this, slightly bigger, extra green lots planned to reduce runoff, space for bioswells along the road. It cuts down on the number of lots, but really cuts down on pollution and helps on flooding. You know rain barrels, rain gardens, bioswells. These are things you can do right now in 2023 to help out. Google it, plant some herbs, save the earth. Oh, and one more thing, very important. I have placed a flyer on your chair about an endangered species of toad known to exist in the area to be developed as Lost Limestone Acres. This toad has not been seen in 70 years and has been declared extinct. If this area is developed, there is a very high risk that this toad population, possibly the last population of this species anywhere, will die because the creek is dried up by domestic wells, because uncontrolled urban runoff pollutes the creek, or for whatever killed the toad everywhere else. There is an agenda item on your meeting today where you vote to add your organization to the list of organizations that ask the city to delay permit approval until this toad can be researched and rescued. Please consider voting for this resolution. Thank you. Good to see you, Professor. You must live in that neighborhood.
Yes.
Did you like my skit?
Well, you've progressed a bit.
You know, your class changed my life.
I'll say this. I never would have pegged you for a future community organizer. What happened to your stammer?
What do you call a gare from the eastern part of France?
A gare de l'Est.
No. This must be done with a French accent. Gare de Lille.
Gare de Lille.
Oui, parfait. Gare.
A reading from page 46 of the Texas Book of Beasts. Flashback 3 years. The Gar, the origin story, part 2.
Well, I am not sure with this idea you will pass.
I have followed your instructions to the letter. I've attended every class. I've done the readings, and I've maxed out your written quizzes.
You never say anything in class. That's a big part of the grade. And you clearly don't know what you're doing on this assignment. And your idea is frankly lame.
I am shooting for a C.
A C could not possibly help your GPA.
A C would bring me from a 4.0 to a 3.95. I'm a summa cum laude shoo-in already, but getting flunked would delay my graduation, not something I want or expect or deserve. I followed your syllabus to the letter.
Why take this class? There are much easier classes for you to take to get an arts credit, and you frankly are not suited to directing or performing.
This class suits my purpose,
Which is?
to pursue my muse.
I have no why this class is plagued with misfits. There's this export from the engineering department who has loads of enthusiasm, but absolutely no idea about playwriting.
I know.
I really should flunk him, but I can't bring myself to do it.
Don't even think about it.
Him? I did not expect that. Oh, he is not exactly the kind of guy.
He may not be the man some girls think of as handsome.
Okay. I see what you're doing here. But all you're doing is telling this guy, who I presume you think will be watching from the class audience.
Yes.
That you've written down his t-shirts and you must like him. This idea has to be coherent to the audience as a whole. So what does the audience get out of it when you say, he's wearing a t-shirt from the San Diego Zoo?
Great question. That's the exact question that the friend asks as they talk. I explained this. The image on that shirt is of a Przewalski's horse. It's not of an elephant, or a tiger, or a toucan, or any other things that would be much more popular choices. What he knows is that the San Diego Zoo has saved that species. That they are the last of their kind, and there's a herd of Przewalski's horses in San Diego that run on thousands of acres, and they still look and act proud and feral. They still look weird and stunted, but they're unique in that environment. His other shirts have similar ideas. The Big Bend National Park.
Spare me the details. You've got 2 minutes left.
Well, here's the important part not said. Most people's t-shirts indicate a desired look or tribal membership or, God forbid, politics. But each of his t-shirts points to a sharp brain or a good heart. But you have to be into the topic to get it, not messages to the world, messages to Anne.
You need to add that bit in for this to make sense.
I'm not sure I could get that out with him sitting there.
Well, this meeting is to help you refine your idea, and I'm telling you, you need to add that bit.
Okay, would I pass?
Maybe. You are following my syllabus to the letter? Go ahead, finish your play. I might give you a C+.
I have a special request.
What?
After the play, I say one more thing. Leave the performance area and go up to where he's seated and ask him to leave class and join me for a coffee. Will you let him leave if he decides to join me?
Sure. But his answer has a very high likelihood of being very painful to experience or witness.
Well, whatever he says, that's theater, right? Thank you. A C+ would be really great.
Next!
A reading from page 51 of the Texas Book of Beasts, The Daughters of the Chisholm Trail.
Thank you, honey.
Thank you, dear. As daughters of the Chisholm Trail, we want it strictly understood that the purpose of this sisterhood is just to serve the common good.
Select,
Elect,
elite,
correct,
direct,
district. We the decency repeat, we want it strictly understood that the purpose of this sisterhood is just to serve the common good.
Here we go. Select,
Elect,
elite,
correct,
discreet,
direct,
although we project a bit.
effete. Note that we get somewhat put out when the uninformed dare to doubt that what we really are about.
It's amassing fun.
And wielding clout! Have a 19th century meeting hall ready for the wrecking ball. We will kindly send y'all an invitation to send short to tete-a-tete with us in court, for contrary to what most people think, we know how to start a stage.
The Daughters of the Chisholm Trail can desktop publish, flood the mail,
Man the phones, have rummage sales.
meet councilmen and give them clues that maybe we can help them. Unless they they meet the evening news.
And help the decent till on our trail to yet another holy grail. Yes. Oh, yes. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah. Welcome.
Thanks for letting us join. Now, Lost Limestone Acres is likely to spawn a whole forest of domestic whales exempt from regulation. This is an important issue for some very sensitive life springs in the watershed. You'll like her. Very smart.
Oh, yes, darling. We met after the neighborhood association meeting. Welcome. How can we help you?
I wanted to talk to you about the new development. I've explored a little bit in that area.
Trespassing.
Well, anyway, I'm glad I went and took a look around. I heard a toad call that hasn't been heard in over 70 years.
Hey, baby.
It's a very distinctive call. I know it belongs to a toad that was declared extinct in the 1950s.
Oh, yeah. A reading from page 55 of the Texas Book of Beasts, Politics and Permitting. So, yesterday, a council person and a nice lady from the Daughters of the Chisholm Trail came by inquiring about the new subdivision and asking if permitting was on track. I had just fielded calls from several environmental groups and 2 neighborhood associations. I said yes, I had just approved the permit, which is obviously not what they wanted to hear. They provided some anecdotal evidence about a toad species living on the property, a species they assumed had been extinct since the 1950s and agreed was not on my protected list. I sympathized with them, but told them that there are rules and procedures that I must follow, and unless this toad was on my protected list, there was nothing I could do but follow the rules and procedures and ignore impacts to this creature. The nice lady then asked if someone were to provide proof of a unicorn on the property, and the development would kill off the only magical plants this creature consumed, would I approve the permit? I said, unless this unicorn and these plants were on my protected list, yes, I would approve the permit. So, I go home last night, and I watch the evening news, and there's this interview with the council person and the nice lady talking about the person in charge of permitting at the city, me, and how they would kill off a unicorn if they found one. And now here's this toad, right? Very much like a unicorn that the city wanted to let be exterminated. So I tell the mayor this morning that there are rules and procedures, but he didn't let me finish and said it was his judgment that the survival of this toad involved an immediate threat to the health and safety of his citizens, and under his executive powers, he'd be placing the toad on my protected list pending confirmatory study. I said, in my long years of working in city government, his powers did not extend to ordering me to do this. Then he said, if I had the power to kill off unicorns, he could probably find some power that dealt with my position at the city. I hum a simple tune when a politician's face turns blue and he rants and raves and threatens you to toe the line and boost his view. I hum a simple tune, for he'll change his mind next phase of moon, or even by this afternoon, for he's up for re-election soon. Yet I remain, because I'm immune from changes year to year. I'm nestled here for a full career. And if perhaps the man has clout and pushes hard to get me out and submits the proper form, it still must pass through Jane and Norm and Fred and Jack and Sue, and each one needs a long review, and sometimes when it gets to Sue, Thru, who's a good friend of mine. We serve on the church vestry together. She's been known to lose a file or two, so the whole process must start anew. So by the time that I've been fired, he's apt to find that I've retired. And meanwhile, while we fought and fussed, and the city's gone from boom to bust, and the council changes, as seems just, from common folk to upper crust, or the other way around, to plastic fork from silver spoon, yet I remain, because I'm immune from changes year to year. I'm nestled here for a full career. Still, one must choose one's battles, and this doesn't kill the project, it just requires more study. Not a bad idea, actually.
Did y'all know that crickets are one note? The variety you hear is primarily in the source location. So you hear crickets from over here, and then from over there. In this next scene, we are all going to be crickets. You might remember when you sat down today, there were some colored streamers on your seat. The colors of those streamers indicate your cricket location. So they will be red, yellow, blue, and green. The cast cricket locations are indicated by the hat colors. A reading from page 57 of the Texas Book of Beasts, The Sound of Crickets.
Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. When you read, you begin with ABC. When we click, we go red. Build rain gardens. Yellow. Save the springs. Blue.
No more traffic!
And green.
Save the wild places!
Now everyone, red, yellow, blue, and green are merely the tools we use to build a campaign. Once you have these colors in your heads, you can mix them up in a million different approaches, like this. Red and yellow. Save the springs. Blue and green.
No more places!
Red and green.
Save the wild places!
Red and yellow and blue and green.
No more places!
Yes, we did it! To seal the deal, we just have to recite the on to pavement.
Bitumen, macadam, asphalt, concrete tar. Libations at the altar to the once and future car. Bitumen, macadam, asphalt, concrete tar. Libations at the altar to the once and future car. Bitumen, macadam, asphalt, concrete tar. Libations at the altar to the once and future car.
And that is the end of my last required presentation at my last required public meeting. I presume we're no closer to agreement. You have told me this is the last undeveloped watershed on this side of the city, that its spring-fed creeks, large stands of heritage trees, and fields of mature native grasses are unique. And I have responded, exactly. That's why I'm getting home buyers calling in from Michigan. I assure you, I will comply with the stipulations added to my just submitted permit, and you will eventually learn to cope with the changes.
Why are you still claiming your development is permitted? I checked just before this meeting, and we managed to get that permit revoked. Your land is habitat to an extremely rare toad that was previously declared extinct. Lots of studies to do.
What do you call a gar who's very proficient at stone cutting?
A mason jar.
Gar, 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 gar.
A reading from page 60 of the Texas Book of Beasts. Research is pure.
It's a great day! I have just been granted permission to collect a few specimens for study of an endangered species in a local spring. As I tell those who give permits, those who apply the laws, to probe thresholds of knowledge is to serve a higher cause. There is selfless, striving hardship needing government support in the crafting and redrafting of original reports. The most officious bureaucrat can affix his signature, for he knows, although most politics makes right and wrong obscure, ivory towers need no whitewash, for all know
Research is pure.
Research is pure. As I tell prospective donors, those who control the grants, to probe thresholds of knowledge is a form of real romance. There is searching, and there's courtship needing confidence and tact in the mating and debating that marries guest fact. For the undefined enigma has a virginal allure that inspires us modest thinkers. For we know
Research is pure.
research is pure. I once taught a course for freshmen who, have fuzzy goals. And they flail about for purpose while consuming parents' goals. And half would want to save the earth, and I should point the path. But only without homework, and while avoiding complex math. Since then, I just teach seniors, who are somewhat less distressed by visions of lost Eden, for that's not on the test. They camp out in the reading stacks on a feral-focused quest to divine what type of poison snuffs out each type of pest or what growth-inducing hormone is best mixed with types of feed. For they know that type of knowledge is what employers need. But I, my friends, have tenure and am by endowment freed from the petty practicality that open markets breed. I devote my life to principles that ever will endure and evade the crowds up in the clouds where I know research is pure.
Why are you claiming your development is permitted? I checked just before this meeting and we managed to get that permit revoked. Your land is habitat to an extremely rare toad that was previously declared extinct. Lots of studies to do.
Well, that's news, if true. Bit of irony there. I just let a university professor have access to my land to collect rare toad specimens. He had a permit from a federal agency. He's going out there tonight. After today, there may be nothing left to study.
Oh no. A reading from page 63 of the Texas Book of Beasts. Why bats sleep on the ceiling. Why do bats sleep on the ceiling? The delicate explanation is the only sanitation in a rock cavity is gravity.
So, this was the low point. But then, she decided to act. As a fervent believer in public transportation, she pulled out her Cap Metro app. And as usual, immediately found a bus stop near her for the bus going to the exact spot she wanted to go to. Scheduled to arrive at the bus stop in 2 minutes. It was nighttime. She ran to the bus stop. And as usual, the bus was right on time.
Urgent! To the end of the line! The fate of a species hangs in the balance.
Meanwhile, back in the creek, Professor Lively is stalking upstream with his long cord
pigs, maybe 2 with 1 stick!
Ooh, but now our hero has just disembarked and is rushing to the scene.
Wait a second! I have a better idea.
But I have a permit.
It will make your museum a huge success.
Go on.
Why not save these toads? You could get an academic prize for researching them. You know, get a lot of good press. In your museum, rather than displaying an embalmed thing that looks like a paperweight, you construct a giant bear-sized video hologram of the now famous toad that kerplops, kerplunks across the foyer and calls out, "Hey, baby!" They'll line up at the door.
A reading from page 65 of the Texas Book of Beasts, the cattle egret. The cattle egret is a bird that serves as mailman to the herd. The egret, without recompense, brings news to families split by fence. How else could Mama find out how her baby heifer became a cow? She generally does not want to hear how baby bull became a steer.
A reading from page 65 of the Texas Book of Beasts, the developer's decision.
You know, I could have fought the DCT lawsuit, done all the studies, and eventually gotten a permit, as the land gets more valuable by the day, but then I had this reoccurring, really strange dream. The dream started out with this mass of people in a dark room chanting,
Bitumen, macadam, asphalt, concrete, tar.
That faded out, and I was in my car, drove up to the property gate, got out, and walked in. A thick cloud of mosquitoes swarmed around me, so I couldn't see. And then this huge raccoon came barreling towards me and knocked me down into a fire ant's nest. I tore off all my clothes and leapt sideways into a limestone overhang into a densely packed mass of daddy longlegs. Panicked, and I jumped up, banging my head on the cave when a huge cloud of bats flew out of the cave opening under the overhang. Oh. Now woozy and hurt and spattered with guano, I stumbled onto a creek bed and lay naked and spread eagle on my back on the top of a riffle. I couldn't move, though I tried and tried. Below the riffle, there was a school of minnows going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. This wasn't calming. It's like the ticking of a clock in a countdown. I felt a shadow pass over, and a cattle egret landed next to me. We stared at each other for a while, tick, tick, tick. It then pointed its beak towards my private parts and asked,
Are you selling this land to a conservation organization?
and I said, sure. And it answered,
Good decision.
it then unfolded its wings and stepped upwards into the air and away. Oh. Then I woke up. So I sold. This was not a tough decision. As the field studies proved, the ecosystem was unique and even, quote, full of wonder. So basically I was able to set my very own high price. And hey, the toads are okay. Not a bad result.
page 66 of the Texas Book of Beasts, prairie dogs, or something to think about. Basically, we are pretending that, metaphorically, we are a prairie dog town on the lookout for predators. When we see a predator, we each blow our whistle. A prairie dog, before a stroll, sits up sniffing in its hole and scans the horizons and the sky for unwelcome passersby. Thus, prairie dogs of every clan learn to pop up, sniff, and scan. And if sentries serve this plan, peace prevails and the town expands.
I am 6 years old and have had 5 litters of 6 pups each.
Into all the surrounding lands.
False alarm.
But there was a careless bachelor in town who spied a female 2 holes down and popped up, sniffed, and stayed to bark a tender serenade, singing of the wide renown of her lovely shade of brown. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, sit down. Since he didn't stay awake, he was eaten by a passing snake. And those that gawk will feed a hawk. And those that howl will feed an owl. And those that have a dozing sentry will grant more hungry critters entry. Thus it is that teeth and talons enforce the local natural balance. A prairie dog before a stroll sits up sniffing in its hole and scans the horizons and the sky for unwelcome passerby. Please note that those that stay alert in general don't become desserts.
But the main point of that skit is not about staying alert. It's about how, if you have predators, you keep the prairie dogs in balance with their environment. What happens if a species manages to get rid of all natural predators and the only constraint on its expansion is the ever more limited resources of the planet? Something to think about? No, something to be alarmed about and act!
Flashback 3 years. A reading from the Texas Book of Beasts, page 69. The Texas Book of Beasts, the origin story.
Why did you buy okra?
Oh, there it is. Darn it, wrong piece. When I got to the store, it was mid-panic. Fresh veggies were all gone, and the frozen food section was cleared out, except for the okra.
How much did you buy?
Look, I'm trying to concentrate here. There it is. Ah, so satisfying. I bought 6 packages.
Why? We don't like okra.
It just looks so unwanted. I guess I'm just a softie.
A softie for frozen produce.
I saw it doomed to go to a landfill, due to expire in 2 months.
It oozes and slithers and squishes and slides. And when pinned by a fork, squirts out its insides.
Gross.
So a thinking person simply can't believe that okra is a plant.
Ah, there it is. That completes the roof. Who wrote that?
I did, for Creative Writing 201.
Oh, that was the arts course you actually passed, right?
Yes. The playwright course was taken as kind of a prank. I already had the credits I needed.
Do you have the top of the telephone pole?
Yeah. Your bit goes at him.
On to the cat.
For the creative writing course, I had to either write a 20-page short story or write 20 poems on a particular theme. My opus was the Texas Book of Beasts.
Tell me some more of them.
Okay. A note on animal hygiene. The javelina should be cleaner, and like the ocelot should wash a lot, but it does not.
Not bad.
Note the professor made no specification on poem length. An excerpt from the annual animal inventory of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, the GNs. Native Texas has not one GNU, but there are gnats and quite a few.
It's irritating that the backside of the cow is in shrubbery. What cow really stands in shrubbery? Let's write a play.
You write the play. Remember, I flunked the course. You're the one who got a C+.
Actually, I got a B.
Oh?
I was very pleased. Maybe we could fit in your poems somehow.
A play in verse. Ugh.
It's been done before. Do you have this piece right here with the cow horn?
I think I saw that bit. Yeah. There.
Thanks. Maybe we can get the group from the play class together. You know, they started a theater troupe. Work out of a warehouse on the east side. I still know one or two of them. I run into them at the co-op.
Well, they will certainly remember us.
You telling a dozen gar jokes for your semester project.
That was a very subtle piece about personal obsession.
Hey, that was my theme. You copied.
Huh. You know, I had no idea what you were up to in your play. And then right after the play, everyone turned to look at me. And you?
Oh, I was trying to say, will you let me buy you a coffee? But I got stuck on the L. Will you
I saw you as a beautiful, nice, transparently smart, incredibly shy woman. During the performance, I was mostly thinking, why me? Am I really someone she wants to meet? I knew it wasn't a joke. When you came up to me, I was really curious what you were trying to say.
Oh, I remember. As I stuttered, everyone was silent and staring. And then a few members of my cast and the audience gave me this, you can do this expression. So I switched to, will you join me for a coffee? My treat. You took a very long time to respond.
You know, I listened during your performance. I was not remotely interested in dating. That was something for later, when I would eat better, jog a bit. I wanted to get the degree, get a good job, everything in its time. But you read me exactly right. You described me as sharp brain, good heart. That is my self-image in 4 words. Nothing else mattered. I was processing that information.
Well, you just stared at me for a while. And then the cast started to chant, and then the audience.
I had everything scheduled for years. Then in 15 seconds, the schedule changed.
Yes, that class will remember us. When we write the play.
You write the play.
I'll write the play, and I'll pass it off to the theater, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. While you're busy writing, please let me buy the vegetables. Could you work in a scene about bioswales? Oh, duty calls. What do you call a guard? Offended by a colleague passing wind.
Why is the professor obsessed? A reading from page 74 of the Texas Book of Beasts, warts. The professor saved the toad and got his haul of amphibians. He used the hero's idea for the foyer to attract visitors, but he still pursued grants to travel the world, capture and embalm frogs, newts, apes, and other toads for his expanding and now popular display. What was the origin of this peculiar and durable fixation?
That concludes my presentation on tricks of the trade and amphibian embalming. Any questions?
Oh,
Yeah.
so Professor, your entire professional career has been devoted to studying frogs, toads, salamanders. Can you explain to us this compulsion you have concerning amphibians?
It all goes back to my childhood. when my parents refused to let me keep animals in my room. One night I was playing with this toad while in my bedroom. When my father came in, I stuffed the toad down into my pajama bottoms, and before my father left the room, I was asleep. And when I woke up, I had...
You had what, Professor?
warts in my shorts!
Warts in his shorts?
Warts in my shorts! Big ones and small ones, and warts of all sorts! Because of that toad, I had warts in my shorts! Warts in his shorts!
Warts in his shorts.
My childhood was spent by the shorts from my buddies made fun of those warts in my shorts!
Warts in his shorts.
Warts in his shorts!
So that's why he writes those slimy reports. His buddies made fun of the warts in his shorts.
I thought it told me a unique pet is loyal and affectionate, and maybe trained to go and get you cookies and some chocolate. If you but gave its back a rub, or bribed it with a juicy grub, and then I couldn't wear a top, so I couldn't play sports, no little league fields or basketball courts, because of that toad and those warts in my shorts. Warts in his shorts! Dry liquid nitrogen. That one.
Bumpy one.
Warts in all sorts.
It's the fault of that toad and the warts in his shorts.
I never wore swim trips or went to resorts because of that toad and those warts in my shorts.
No Disney World.
No Schlitter Bond!
No, warts in his shorts. Warts in his shorts.
I never had girlfriends or could play sports.
It's the fault of that toad and the warts in his shorts.
When I ride in a boat, I don't straddle the
It's
oar.
the fault of that toad and the warts in his shorts.
A reading from the Texas Book of Beasts, page 78. Happy ending.
So, when you go to the property boundary, you look uphill through a tangle of live oaks, grass, and brush, with no trail or path, for the Conservancy won't allow it. And the trees seem to go on climbing the valley for miles. If you scrunch yourself down to the size of 8-year-old Tommy Pfeiffer, who lives nearby, you could fit through a hole in the fence and pick your way through the undergrowth, ignoring the chiggers and the mosquitoes and looking carefully for snakes. After about 500 yards, you'll come to a clearing, a series of puddles and limestone that is fed by a spring that doesn't spring, but seeps out for about 50 yards of creek bed before plunging down again into the soil. If you sit until the sun is just below the horizon, it helps to bide your time by softly crushing the fleshy end of a grass stalk between your molars. You will hear